We are one CaitlinClark injury away from this. League going back to pre-2004. That's not hyperbole, that's the uncomfortable truth that's driving every decision in the CBA negotiation right now. And what you're about to see is how both sides are playing the most dangerous game of chicken in WNBA history. The silence is deafening. First Take isn't talking about women's basketball. ESPN isn't covering Paige Becker's dropping 44 points. The only WNBA story that broke through in January 2025 was CaitlinClark's first unrivaled game and whether she might join the Liberty. That's it. The league went from cultural phenomenon to afterthought in 6 months. And here's what makes that terrifying. For everyone involved, the WNBA Players Association just let their collective bargaining agreement expire at midnight. On January 31st, they put out an inflatable rat outside the NBA store in New York. They're tweeting about strikes, and the league is sitting across the table saying one word: unsustainable.
I don't have a problem with the WNBA players asking for a raise. The WNBA is on a hot streak. I don't care about the previous 24, 25 years. As an investment, it's starting to pay off. And so this week they wore T-shirts saying, making a statement, you better pay us. But instead of just leaving it at that, a Kelsey Plum...
So let's talk about what the players actually want. Revenue sharing, tied to 30% of gross league revenue, not a fixed salary cap that increases 5% annually like the league offered. They want a fluctuating system that rises and falls with the league's financial performance each year. The league's position, that's a non-starter. And here's why this gets complicated. The WNBA doesn't operate like the NBA. Most teams are independently owned with separate operating costs. The league itself doesn't control enough revenue to guarantee that kind of structure. When the Players Association says they want pay equity, they're using a buzzword that sounds progressive but represents a financial model that the league's current structure literally cannot support.
Really thankful for, the training staff and player development and everybody that has kind of been there with me. They haven't taken a break either because they invest a lot of time and they want me to be successful. So I think for myself, it's not proving it to yourself again, but it's just that feeling. And I think it just made me smile quite a bit. I really did kind of feel like myself out there and just continuing to get my lungs back. But I felt like I was moving really well.
And now, here's where both sides are playing with fire. The players are saying the league isn't negotiating in good faith. They're posting about labor protests and talking about their willingness to do whatever is necessary. But look at what they're actually doing. They're not compromising. They've drawn a line in the sand and they're daring the league to cross it. The problem, the league knows something the players don't want to acknowledge. There are maybe 6 or 7 players in this entire league whose individual brand is bigger than their team's brand. CaitlinClark, Angel, Reese, Paige Buickers, Sabrina Ionesco, Bana Sitivt, Avan Wilson, Nfisa, Collier. That's the list. Everyone else is replaceable from a business perspective. That's harsh, but it's reality. Think about the Connecticut Sunday. You could replace their entire roster with UConn alums who aren't currently in the league, and attendance wouldn't drop. Viewership wouldn't change. The Connecticut Sun brand carries the franchise, not the individual players. That's true for most teams in this league.
The news? Because NBA stars, there's a lot of them, and they move the needle. The WNBA stars, well, there's one that moves the needle. And here's the other thing to remember. CaitlinClark's already rich. She made $11 million this year alone in endorsements off the court. So regardless of how these negotiations go, she's set. Nobody else is, right? So when somebody joins the band and everything gets upgraded, just be happy.
Here's the nightmare scenario that's keeping everyone up at night. Let's say the players hold out. Let's say they actually strike and miss games. The 2025 Season gets delayed or canceled entirely. What happens next? The league folds. Not immediately, but the dominoes start falling. Sponsors pull out because there's no product to attach their brand to. The new television deal that everyone's counting on to fund these salary increases that gets renegotiated or canceled because the league couldn't deliver on its promises. Teams in smaller markets that were already losing money every year, they shut down operations. And then what? The players think they can start their own league or join an existing alternative. But here's the reality check. Unrivaled is already failing. We have numbers. Despite getting massive investment from tech bros who thought women's basketball was the next crypto, despite the CaitlinClark boom creating unprecedented interest, despite signing a panic deal with TNT right after they lost NBA rights, Unrivaled finished dead last in primetime television ratings for their key demographic.
Should not make this Team USA team. CaitlinClark destroys in day 2 of Team USA camp, looking like the best player.
I think you deserve more than 9%.
Let's talk about leverage, because this is where the players are fundamentally misunderstanding their position. They're acting like they have all the power because the league needs them. But the league doesn't need all of them. The league needs CaitlinClark healthy and playing. That's it. That's the entire leverage calculation right now. If CaitlinClark tears her ACL tomorrow, the league's revenue projections collapse. The television deal gets renegotiated downward. Attendance drops back to 2023 levels. Suddenly, that fluctuating revenue share the players are demanding means the salary cap drops from 1.3 million to 600,000. And at that point, the league isn't sustainable anyway. So it doesn't matter. The owners know this. The league office knows this. And deep down, the players know this too. That's why this is so dangerous. Both sides are betting the entire future of women's professional basketball on their ability to outlast the other in a negotiation where neither side can actually afford to lose.
Clark was in the WNBA. They were hazing her. They're not hazing her anymore. They're just trying to figure out how the hell to stop her. Okay, it's not hazing. It's, all right, traps, pressure. So the Fever saw it coming. They went and got Sophie Cunningham.
So here's what needs to happen, and here's why it probably won't. The players need to accept that a fixed salary cap with guaranteed annual increases is better than a revenue share tied to a league that might not exist in 3 years. The league needs to offer enough money that players don't feel like they're being exploited while the league prints money off their labor. But instead, we're getting inflatable rats and statements about being undervalued, and both sides digging in while the clock ticks down. The Players Association says they care deeply about the fans, and they take pride in honoring them every time they step on the court. That's PR speak. Most players in this league don't care about the fans. They care about the fans' money. And you know what? Most owners don't care about the fans either. They care about the fans' money too. That's professional sports. The difference is the owners can survive without the WNBA. They're billionaires with diversified portfolios. The players, this is their livelihood. This is their career, and they're betting it all on a hand that's weaker than they think. Here's what makes this particularly frustrating. The players are right that they deserve more money. The league made massive revenue gains in 2024. Attendance was up, ratings were up, merchandise sales exploded. CaitlinClark's jersey outs sold every NBA player except LeBron James and Steph Curry for a period of time. The players created value, and they should share in that value, but the way they're going about this is going to kill the golden goose. You don't get to demand 30% revenue sharing when the league has been operating at a loss for most of its existence.